Millionaire dates single mom, not knowing she's his high school sweetheart. Prepare to be swept away by a tale of fortunes lost and found, secrets buried and unearthed, and a spark from the past that refuses to be extinguished. In this story, a charismatic millionaire crosses paths with a resilient single mother, unaware she's the very person who once held his heart in high school. As old feelings reawaken, hidden truths threaten to shatter their fragile connection. Each twist will keep you on the edge of your seat, eagerly anticipating the next revelation. Betrayals, chance encounters, and karmic retribution set the stage for a transformative journey that teaches us about the power of love, the importance of honesty, and the magic of second chances. Get ready for an unforgettable, heart-pounding experience. Before we dive in, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you're excited about this story, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press O. Your feedback really inspires me to gather more uplifting and meaningful stories. Ava clutched her to-go cup from Starbucks, inhaling the comforting aroma of espresso as she glanced around the bustling Seattle sidewalk. The day had barely begun, yet her nerves were already dancing. She was about to meet someone important, a man whose mere reputation had set the city's social circles on fire, Cole Peterson, the self-made millionaire who'd skyrocketed to fame with a groundbreaking software startup. Ava was a single mum with a 4-year-old daughter waiting back home, yet she couldn't ignore the flicker of excitement running through her veins. Could a chance blind date truly offer the hope of a brighter future? The last thing she expected was to discover that this enigmatic mogul was someone she had once known intimately, someone whose name she had whispered in the darkness of her teenage bedroom, but never thought she'd see again. Cole parked his gleaming, custom Rolls-Royce Phantom outside the fine dining restaurant perched on the waterfront. He glanced at his reflection in the rearview mirror, recalling how far he had come since his teenage years at Westbridge High School. Once a shy boy with second-hand clothes and an unwavering passion for computer programming, Cole was now a major name in the tech world. His calendar overflowed with investor meetings and philanthropic events, but tonight he had promised a friend he would give an ordinary dating app a try, if only to prove his busy schedule didn't define him. Little did he realize that the woman he was about to meet would dredge up memories of late-night study sessions, a hidden heartbreak, and the painful loss of a young love that still haunted him. The restaurant, famed for its breathtaking sunset views over Elliott Bay, shimmered like a gem. Ava took a seat at a corner table, nervously smoothing her skirt. A small part of her felt guilty. She hadn't told Cole about her daughter, Mia, not wanting to chase away a potential suitor with complications before they even met. Yet a larger part of her was haunted by a memory she couldn't place. Something about his name, Cole Peterson, felt almost too familiar, but she couldn't recall a face. She scanned the menu with trembling fingers, trying to quell the strange sense of anticipation creeping through her. The hostess nodded politely and directed her attention to the elegantly dressed man who strode in with a confidence she couldn't ignore. He wore a fitted suit that spoke volumes about his success, but his eyes held a warmth that suggested there was far more to him than wealth. With a disarming smile, Cole introduced himself and took a seat. In the first few minutes, polite small talk passed between them, each gauging if the other lived up to the hype they'd been sold. But beneath Ava's cordial demeanor, her heart pounded. She started piecing together half-forgotten fragments of high school. Cole Peterson. She recalled a scrawny, soft-spoken boy who kept to himself in the computer lab. She'd been the yearbook photographer, snapping pictures of all the clubs. Could it be him? The notion was so bizarre, so impossible, that she dismissed it. There was no way the hesitant teenager she remembered had transformed into this polished entrepreneur. Dinner progressed with a surprising ease. Ava discovered they shared more than superficial interests. They both adored volunteering at local charities and had a mutual admiration for the University of Washington's medical research programs. Each anecdote and revelation strengthened a bond that felt oddly familiar and exhilarating. Meanwhile, Cole couldn't shake an undercurrent of nostalgia that tugged at his thoughts. He kept glancing at Ava's face, certain that he'd seen that luminous smile somewhere before, and yet he couldn't place when or where. Still, something in him stirred an unnamed longing, as though he were on the verge of rediscovering a missing puzzle piece from his youth. After dinner, they stepped onto the restaurant's terrace, the sky above them painted in lavender and gold. The wind curled Ava's hair around her face, and Cole couldn't resist tucking a stray lock behind her ear. The intimate gesture felt effortless, and for a moment Ava's cheeks flushed with a reminiscent warmth she couldn't explain. Then, just as she was about to speak, her phone vibrated. Her babysitter was frantically texting about an unexpected fever Mia had developed. Panic constricted Ava's chest. She blurted an apology to Cole and rushed off without fully explaining, leaving him standing on the terrace, baffled and a little wounded. Early the next morning, Ava paced her tiny apartment. As Mia's fever subsided, her daughter was nestled in bed, sleeping off the night's ordeal. Ava's mind swirled with regrets. She should have been honest about her child from the start. Yet, a part of her feared scaring Cole away. She picked up her phone to check if he had texted. He had left a message expressing concern and hoping everything was okay, but the subtext was clear. He was puzzled by her sudden departure. Determined to clear the air, Ava considered inviting Cole over, but felt torn. What if he discovered she was a mother and decided it was too complicated? Cole, on the other hand, was ensconced in his sleek office overlooking downtown Seattle. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a panorama of twinkling skyscrapers, a far cry from the modest suburbs where he grew up. If someone had told teenage Cole that he'd one day have an entire wing of a building dedicated to his software ventures, he would have burst out laughing. Yet his success was accompanied by profound loneliness. With each new achievement, he grew more wary of people using him for his money or prestige. That was what made his evening with Ava so special. She seemed genuinely intrigued by who he was, not merely by his bank account. Despite her abrupt exit, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Determined not to let a single night's confusion derail the connection they'd formed, he resolved to find her again. By midday, Cole had discovered Ava's phone number through the dating app and decided to call. His voice over the line was softer, more genuine than Ava expected from a powerful CEO. He explained that he hoped she was doing well and asked if they could talk. With Mia feeling better, Ava invited him over for dinner. She nearly cancelled 3 times out of sheer nerves, but her heart compelled her to keep the date. When Cole arrived that evening, it wasn't in his Rolls-Royce. He'd driven a humble sedan, a conscious choice to show that he could be down to earth. Ava greeted him with a timid smile, bracing herself for the moment she'd reveal the truth about her daughter. Walking into Ava's cozy apartment was a stark contrast to Cole's lavish penthouse. Yet as he crossed the threshold, he felt an uncharacteristic warmth he rarely felt at his own place. Potted plants adorned the windowsills, brightly colored drawings hung on the fridge, and the faint lullaby of children's cartoons played in the background. Suddenly, a small figure peeked from behind the sofa. Mia, curious and watchful, Ava carefully introduced her daughter, heart pounding, bracing for signs of discomfort in Cole's expression. But to her surprise, he knelt down to Mia's level, introduced himself with a gentle smile, and asked if she liked cartoons. In that instant, Ava's apprehension began to melt, replaced by a hope she dared not name. As dinner progressed, homemade lasagna and garlic bread, Cole marveled at how naturally he fell into conversation with Ava and Mia. The child's bright eyes lit up when he mentioned that he once built a simple smartphone game that helped kids learn the alphabet. Ava watched, stunned, as her daughter giggled at his silly puns. There was something unmistakably tender about Cole's demeanor. It tugged at a memory Ava had repressed for years, a teenage boy timidly offering her help with a biology project. She had been so grateful that day. They stayed up into the late hours laughing over a shared pizza. Was it possible the boy was Cole? The thought lingered, feeding the swirling tension in her mind. When Mia went to bed, Ava confessed that she'd been afraid to disclose she was a single mum on her profile. She had often seen men run in the other direction once children were mentioned. Cole admitted he understood the concern, having encountered people who looked at him purely as a wallet. He revealed his own insecurities about how rarely he could trust new acquaintances. The conversation took on an unexpectedly personal depth that neither had experienced in years. Ava felt her pulse quicken as Cole's eyes shone with empathy. An internal voice told her she was falling for someone she might have known all along. Later that night, after Cole departed, Ava rummaged through her closet, pulling out a dusty box of high school memorabilia. She found old yearbooks, photographs, even ticket stubs from long-forgotten dances. Her fingers grazed a snapshot of the computer club, and there he was, a younger Cole Peterson, wearing oversized glasses and a timid grin, her breath caught in her throat. It was undeniably the same Cole, yet unrecognizable in his teenage awkwardness. Memories flooded back, how he once defended her against cruel rumors, how they'd spent hours discussing future dreams. Tears stung her eyes. The sweet boy from her youth had become a powerful man, yet somehow fate had led them back together only with so many secrets and lost time between them. Unaware of Ava's emotional discovery, Cole found himself pacing his penthouse that same night. He was haunted by the persistent feeling that Ava was more than just a potential romantic interest. She was a figure from his past. That swirl of familiarity was driving him mad. He forced himself to revisit old mental snapshots, the assembly hall at Westbridge High, the cafeteria, the library where he used to hide and code. A flicker of memory teased him, a girl with a camera and a kind-hearted laugh. If Ava was indeed that girl, what did it mean for their future? And why had it taken so long for destiny to bring them together again? A few days later, Cole invited Ava to a swanky charity gala at Seattle's famed Fairmont Olympic Hotel. Uncertain whether she belonged in such opulent surroundings, Ava initially hesitated. She worried about judgment from Cole's high society peers. But at his gentle insistence, she agreed, rummaging through her closet for something that could pass as elegant. With her heart pounding, she arrived at the event in a simple black dress and was promptly swept away by the grandeur, crystal chandeliers, gilded walls, and a string quartet serenading the crowd. Cole greeted her near the entrance, his eyes brightening when he saw her, as though she were the only person in the room. Throughout the night, Cole introduced her to moguls, philanthropists, and celebrities. Ava felt a dozen curious gazes upon her. Whispers circulated. Who was this newcomer who'd captured Cole Peterson's attention? Yet she held her head high, determined to stand by Cole's side with grace. As she sipped her champagne, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Victoria Marks, the reigning queen bee of their high school days. Victoria had inherited a real estate empire and was known for her cutthroat reputation. Spotting Cole and Ava together, her eyes narrowed in a flash of recognition. She marched over, greeting Cole with feigned enthusiasm, then turned to Ava with a thinly veiled smirk. "You haven't changed a bit," Victoria purred, old high school rivalries flaring in her voice. Ava's stomach churned, for she'd never fully recovered from the bullying Victoria once orchestrated against her. Victoria wasted no time in sowing seeds of discord. She skillfully referenced details from high school to imply she knew Cole far better than Ava ever did. Sly remarks about Ava's financial struggles found their way into the conversation. Ava felt stung, but Cole's protective arm around her waist served as reassurance. Then, in a chilling moment, Victoria hinted at a rumor she'd heard that Ava had given birth shortly after high school. Ava's cheeks burned. She wasn't ashamed of Mia, but it felt humiliating to have her private life weaponized in such a public forum. Cole's jaw tightened, and he steered Ava away, ignoring Victoria's mocking laughter echoing behind them. Heart racing, Ava guided Cole to a quiet corner of the grand ballroom. Tears threatened to spill, and she braced herself for Cole's reaction. She confessed that Victoria had told the truth. She did become pregnant after high school, although the father had vanished when he found out. Ava explained how she'd struggled through waitressing jobs and college courses, determined to provide Mia with a better life. She half expected Cole to recoil, but to her shock, he pulled her close, whispering that her resilience amazed him. "I admire you even more for what you've been through," he said gently. Relief flooded Ava, though in the back of her mind, she grappled with the explosive realization of who Cole really was, her old classmate. She still hadn't told him. Later that night, after the gala ended, Cole found an old yearbook in his study. Thumbing through the pages, he spotted a candid shot of the yearbook committee, a smiling girl with a camera, labeled simply as A. Jenkins. He froze. It was Ava. Everything clicked into place. The midnight study sessions, the jokes they shared, the subtle tension they left unresolved when graduation separated them. Emotion surged through him. He realized Ava had known who he was this whole time, or at least suspected it, and hadn't said a word. A swirl of confusion and hurt gripped him, but love and longing overwhelmed his better judgment. He needed answers. Determined to get to the bottom of it all, Cole showed up unexpectedly at Ava's apartment the next morning, a bouquet of lilies in hand. She opened the door in surprise, hair still mussed from sleep. Wordlessly, he held up the yearbook photo. Ava's eyes widened in guilt and relief. She admitted that she'd remembered soon after their first date, but had felt paralyzed by the fear of rejection. Cole exhaled slowly, torn between betrayal that she hadn't told him sooner and overwhelming tenderness that she was, in fact, his long-lost sweetheart. In a burst of unguarded emotion, he wrapped her in a fierce hug, whispering that he'd never let her slip away again. For several blissful weeks, they fell into a routine that felt uncannily natural date nights. Quiet evenings, reading bedtime stories to Mia, Sunday strolls through Pike Place Market. Yet, lurking beneath the surface, trouble brewed. Victoria, spurned and envious, had begun to sabotage Cole's upcoming merger with another tech firm. Using her extensive network, she spread rumors of financial instability within Cole's company, shaking investor confidence. Cole tried to shield Ava from the stress, but the tension was palpable. With the merger at risk, Cole's entire fortune and philanthropic projects hung in the balance. One evening, as Cole and Ava returned from a movie date, a sleek black car screeched to a halt outside her building. Out stepped Malcolm Price, Mia's absentee father, looking sharp in a designer suit. Ava's heart skipped a beat. She had no idea how Malcolm discovered her new life. He demanded to see Mia, proclaiming he had changed and wanted to be part of his daughter's upbringing. The timing felt too coincidental. Cole's protective instincts surged, but Ava held him back, quietly explaining that she needed to handle this delicately. Malcolm insisted he deserved a second chance, leveling Cole with a hostile glare. Ava, torn between wanting to protect Mia and acknowledging that every child deserves to know their father, found her world turned upside down once again. Malcolm's reappearance sparked a cascade of tensions. Court papers arrived, indicating Malcolm was seeking partial custody of Mia. Consumed with the looming custody battle and Cole's business crisis, Ava felt as though she were being stretched in two directions. She discovered that Malcolm had been in contact with Victoria, an unholy alliance that threatened to tear her life apart. Victoria supplied Malcolm with rumors to use against Ava, painting her as an unfit mother who'd been cavorting with wealthy men to climb the social ladder. Stunned and outraged, Ava realized she needed to fight back or risk losing Mia. In a desperate move, Cole confronted Victoria at a ritzy cocktail party. He demanded she back off both his merger and Ava's custody battle. Victoria feigned innocence but delivered a chilling smile. "You really think you can erase the past, Cole? Ava was never on your level. Did you forget how we used to mock her? You're just too blind to see it." Her words drove a wedge of self-doubt into Cole's heart. He recalled how, in their final days at Westbridge High, Victoria's clique spread vicious rumors about Ava out of jealousy for her blossoming romance with him. To his shame, Cole had not defended her as fiercely as he should have. It was a guilt that gnawed at him to this day. The courtroom showdown arrived. Ava clutched Cole's hand as she sat through argument after argument from Malcolm's smug lawyer. They painted a sinister picture, a single mum who'd neglected to inform the father of his child's existence, who was involved with a flashy millionaire for convenience, and who had minimal means to support a growing child. Ava's knees trembled, but her attorney countered with evidence of Ava's unwavering efforts, the stable environment she provided for Mia, and Malcolm's complete absence from the picture until recently. Tension soared when Cole took the stand to testify about Ava's character, revealing how she'd refused his offers of extravagant gifts, insisting on standing on her own 2 feet. Even the judge seemed taken aback by the sincerity in Cole's voice. Just when it seemed Malcolm's manipulations might sway the court, a bombshell landed. A staff member from a local community center where Ava volunteered stepped forward with documentation showing that Malcolm had attempted to bribe them for false testimonials against Ava. The testimony shattered Malcolm's credibility, exposing his lies and collusion with Victoria. The judge ruled in Ava's favor, limiting Malcolm's contact with Mia until he could prove his intentions were genuine. With the custody case resolved, Ava's relief was overwhelming. Cole, triumphant yet drained, learned that his merger would still proceed as Victoria's malicious rumors had been traced back to her, resulting in a defamation lawsuit. The karmic retribution was swift and severe. Victoria faced public humiliation and mounting legal troubles. In the aftermath, Cole found Ava and Mia standing on the front porch of Ava's apartment, gazing at a rare Seattle sunshine. Cole carried a small box in his hand, his nerves palpable. Slowly, he knelt before Ava. With tears in his eyes, he spoke about how she was the spark he'd been missing all these years, how he never forgot the shy photographer who once urged him to chase his dreams. He offered a ring, an elegant piece encrusted with delicate diamonds. The gravity of the moment felt electric, a testament to all the trials they'd faced. Ava, heart pounding, said yes. Mia, gleefully unaware of the enormity of it all, clapped her little hands, sealing the family they were about to become. Their wedding ceremony took place on an unseasonably warm day at a historic church near Pioneer Square, with close friends and family in attendance. Dressed in a simple, flowing gown, Ava glided down the aisle, her eyes fixed on Cole, whose features radiated unfiltered joy. Emotions soared as they exchanged vows, each promising to cherish and protect the other. Yet, even in this moment of bliss, they were reminded of life's fragility just that morning. Cole had received a threatening note, presumably from Victoria's associates, reminding him that the quest for retribution was far from over. But the newlyweds refused to let darkness overshadow their big day. Days after the wedding, Ava and Cole retreated to a quiet cabin near Mount Rainier for their honeymoon, leaving behind city lights and corporate intrigue. The crisp mountain air, the towering evergreens, and the tranquil lakes provided a haven for reflection. Sitting by a crackling fire, Cole recounted how a lonely boy in high school once dreamed of becoming someone worthy of love and respect, and how that boy had held onto a memory of a caring soul who befriended him when no one else would. Ava, tears brimming, admitted her own regret. If only she had trusted him sooner, she could have spared them both years of heartache. Yet they agreed that fate, with all its twists and turns, had guided them here at precisely the right moment. One crisp morning, they received news that Victoria had been served lawsuits not only from Cole's legal team, but from disgruntled investors whose reputations she had tarnished. Meanwhile, Malcolm quietly left town, presumably to avoid the mounting backlash from his failed custody grab. Although a sense of poetic justice washed over them, Ava and Cole recognized that bitterness could become an endless cycle if they let it. Instead, they resolved to channel their relief and gratitude into a philanthropic project that would help single parents navigate the hardships. Ava once faced alone. Returning to Seattle, they launched the New Horizons Foundation, aimed at providing grants, counseling, and educational resources to single parents. The initiative gained attention across the region, especially when local media featured Ava's personal story of struggle and perseverance. Corporate sponsors flocked to support the foundation, drawn by Cole's reputation and touched by Ava's authenticity. Standing on a small stage at the opening ceremony, Ava recounted how a single mother's life is often lived on a razor-thin margin, always one crisis away from devastation. Yet she also spoke of hope, of rekindled love, of unexpected allies, and the unstoppable power of resilience. The audience erupted in applause, tears glimmering in more eyes than one. Over the ensuing months, Ava balanced being a wife, mother, and co-founder of a rapidly growing charitable organization. Cole's tech company soared to new heights as the merger finalized, unlocking cutting-edge projects. Mia, delighted by the expanded family, spent weekends playing in the backyard of their new home, a stately house overlooking Lake Washington, yet filled with warmth and laughter. In a surprising twist, the battered figure of Malcolm reappeared one evening, claiming he had changed and no longer wanted to fight. He simply wanted to be part of Mia's life in a genuine way. After careful thought and a soul-searching conversation with Cole, Ava agreed to slow, supervised visits, determined that Mia's best interests came first. Meanwhile, Victoria found herself in a downhill spiral. She lost the faith of the real estate conglomerates, her board of directors forcing her to step down as CEO. Bitter headlines described her downfall. Ava felt a pang of empathy despite everything. She had once seen glimpses of humanity in Victoria back in high school. But this outcome felt inevitable, a direct result of scheming and manipulation. In another life, maybe Victoria and Ava could have reconciled. For now, karmic retribution had played its part, urging Victoria to see the consequences of her actions. Whether she would learn from it remained to be seen. On a radiant summer evening, Ava and Cole celebrated Mia's 5th birthday in a public park. Families from their foundation attended, turning the party into a joyful community event. Laughter and music filled the air. Mia squealed with delight at the sight of her birthday cake, topped with sparkly icing and bright candles. As Ava helped her daughter blow out the flames, she locked eyes with Cole, a sense of profound gratitude flooding her. Their shared journey had been fraught with betrayal, hidden truths, and heartbreak, but had blossomed into something resilient and beautiful. Even if life continued to throw them curveballs, they would face them together, fortified by a bond that had started long ago in the halls of Westbridge High. In the months that followed, Cole proposed to expand New Horizons Foundation nationwide. Over business dinners and philanthropic summits, Ava found herself stepping into a role she never dreamed possible, an ambassador for single parents on a national scale. She shook hands with politicians and celebrities, forging alliances to provide more resources for struggling moms and dads. Each success felt surreal, but also deeply personal. She had been that person just a few years ago, working late shifts to keep food on the table. At each milestone, she marveled at how life could change so drastically when given a second chance at love and opportunity. Cole's top investor, a stoic businessman named Graham Caldwell, turned out to have a personal story that mirrored Ava's own. He too had been raised by a single mother who sacrificed everything for his education. Deeply moved by Ava's foundation, he pledged significant support, making the next phase of expansion possible. A glimmer of tears in the man's eyes as he spoke revealed a heart that understood the hardships faced by single-parent households. For Ava, it underscored a humbling truth hidden beneath the surface of even the most powerful figures. There could be a well of empathy and shared experience. One late afternoon, as Ava sorted through letters of gratitude from families their foundation had helped, she stumbled upon an old photograph of herself and Cole during their senior year at Westbridge High. They stood side by side, oblivious to the future that awaited them. Ava felt a surge of wonder at how time had looped back on itself, reuniting two individuals once torn apart by life's unpredictable tides. She pinned the photo on her office wall, a daily reminder that destiny sometimes works in the most extraordinary ways. Word of Cole and Ava's story spread far and wide, drawing attention from national news outlets. Offers to feature them in documentaries or on talk shows piled up. Though flattered, they approached the publicity with caution, keen to protect Mia's privacy and keep their relationship genuine. It was a balancing act, using their newfound platform to help others while maintaining the personal intimacy that had made their connection so strong. Still, they decided that telling their tale might inspire others to never give up hope. They scheduled a single interview with a major network, intending to share just enough to highlight the power of love and redemption. The night before their big interview, Ava sat in her living room, reflecting on everything that had happened since she ran out of that waterfront restaurant to tend to Mia's fever. She remembered the tangle of nerves as she faced Cole for the first time, the simmering recognition that took hold, and the avalanche of conflict that followed. It had been a whirlwind of ups and downs, but every misstep and challenge guided them to a place of authenticity. She asked Cole if he ever regretted returning to that old dating app. With a playful grin, he reminded her that sometimes the simplest choices unearth the greatest treasures. On the morning of the interview, they walked onto a set gleaming with studio lights and cameras. The interviewer posed tough questions about Cole's fortune, Ava's single-parent struggles, and the bitterness they'd faced from people like Victoria and Malcolm. Step by step, they recounted their story without embellishment, the heartbreak, the serendipitous second chance, and the karmic justice that befell those who tried to exploit or harm them. The audience was rapt, tears streaming down some faces. When the interviewer asked Ava how she found the courage to trust again, she replied that real trust grows when two people choose to see each other's scars and still stay close. It was a lesson they had both learned the hard way. By the time they wrapped up the interview, they'd ignited a spark in countless viewers who identified with Ava's struggles or felt encouraged by Cole's humility despite his wealth. News outlets buzzed with headlines about the tech millionaire and the single mom sweetheart. The coverage drew more attention to their philanthropic efforts, skyrocketing donation pledges for New Horizons Foundation. Far from the idle gossip or trivial sensationalism, the story resonated as a testament to resilience and the beauty of second chances, a reminder that wealth and status do not define one's character, and that love can indeed conquer formidable odds. Their personal life calmed down as they found a stable rhythm, morning coffee brewed in a sunny kitchen, Mia's homework sessions, occasional high-pressure board meetings. Cole continued to develop innovative software solutions, occasionally inviting young programmers from underprivileged backgrounds to intern at his company. Ava, newly confident, spoke at community events, championing the cause of single parents. Together, they embarked on philanthropic missions that took them across the country, forging bonds with people from all walks of life. Their collective past, though fraught with drama and heartbreak, became an emblem of hope. On the anniversary of Cole's big merger, a black tie gala was hosted at the ritzy Ritz-Carlton in downtown Seattle. Attended by tech giants, celebrities, and politicians, the event also honored the exponential success of New Horizons Foundation. Ava donned a graceful gown, and Cole, ever the gentleman, escorted her through the crowd. Midway through the evening, a hush descended as Cole tapped the microphone, his gaze never leaving Ava. He delivered a heartfelt speech about how a chance date had rekindled a love he never realized he'd been missing, and how the same chance encounter spurred a foundation that transformed countless lives. Then he turned to Ava, voice shaking with emotion, and thanked her for seeing beyond the fortune and the achievements, for teaching him that vulnerability is a strength. Tears glistened in her eyes. She recalled how once, many years ago, she was simply the girl behind the camera, capturing the fleeting moments of high school life. Never in her wildest dreams did she imagine standing here, the wife of a man who shaped the future of technology, and a mother who'd found not just financial security, but also emotional sanctuary. The audience rose to its feet, applause echoing off the gilded walls. Outside on the terrace, away from the clamor, Ava stared at the glittering city skyline. Cole joined her, sliding an arm around her waist. He spoke quietly about how, in their youth, the differences in their family backgrounds and social circles seemed insurmountable. They had parted ways with unspoken words and unresolved affection. Fate, however, had different plans. "If I had known then what I know now," Cole said, "I would have chased you down the moment you walked out of those high school doors." Ava smiled, pressing close, the city lights dancing in her eyes. "We weren't ready then," she replied, "but we are now." Though adversity had tested them time and again, the forces that once sought to tear them apart had only strengthened their bond. Malcolm faded from the picture after failing to disrupt Mia's life any further, and Victoria, facing multiple lawsuits, chose to rebuild her life in private. Occasionally, rumors emerged of her seeking spiritual counseling, trying to atone for the damage she had wrought. If that was true, perhaps one day she'd find peace. For Ava and Cole, the moral of their journey was clear. Karma had a way of revealing the truth and balancing the scales. No matter how elaborate the scheme, wrongdoing would inevitably unravel in the face of genuine love and integrity. Their story became the stuff of legend in Seattle's social circles, how a single mum ended up being the high school sweetheart of a millionaire, and how they overcame turmoil to build a life anchored by compassion and vision. Yet, in the quiet moments away from public scrutiny, they were simply a family. Ava's laughter when Mia danced around the living room in a superhero cape, Cole's content sigh when he found them curled up on the sofa with bowls of popcorn. These were the simple joys that money could never buy. and they treasured each one, knowing how close they had come to missing out on this love. Even in the humdrum routine of daily life, surprises still emerged. Cole's assistant discovered an old email chain from his teenage self to an obscure scholarship committee, praising Ava for her volunteer work in the photography club. Moved, Ava realized that Cole's feelings for her had rooted deeper than she ever suspected. They laughed about it later, marveling at how their younger selves had nearly combusted with unspoken affection. The sense of destiny, of a cosmic design weaving their paths together, infused every corner of their new life with wonder. In a final act of closure, Ava decided to visit the now abandoned campus of Westbridge High, soon to be demolished, to make way for a new facility. She walked the empty halls, remembering the swirl of teenage angst and hope. She stood by the old computer lab, recalling the shy boy who would eventually become the man she adored. Cole walked beside her, each footstep echoing in the silence. Together, they took a moment to honor the ghosts of the past, both the mistakes made and the joys treasured. Ava snapped a final photo of the place, tears in her eyes, before the building was lost to time. On their drive home, they swung by the Starbucks, where Ava had first gathered her courage to meet Cole. It felt poetic to stand in the same spot, older and wiser, forging a life they once thought impossible. Sipping their coffees, they locked eyes, understanding that their journey, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the karmic retribution had led them to a place of unbreakable unity. A single question now hovered in the air: what came next? For a couple who had traveled such a winding road, the answer was simple. They would continue to fight for each other, love each other, and dedicate themselves to a cause that would help countless families find their own second chances. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey, where a single mom and a millionaire rediscovered a love that began in the hallways of their youth. Their story reminds us that no matter how far we stray, destiny can lead us back to the people and places meant for us. From high school memories and hidden regrets to unexpected encounters and karmic justice, Ava and Cole proved the power of resilience, truth, and compassion. If this tale moved you, please consider liking this video, sharing it with friends, and subscribing to our channel. By supporting us, you help spread messages of hope and inspiration. We look forward to bringing you more stories of remarkable people who learn that love can bridge even the widest gaps.